On today's show, Victor Wembanyama has gone from the potential savior of the Rockets organization to public enemy number one in less than 24 hours. We'll also get Rafael Stone and Ime Udoka's reactions from the NBA draft lottery, reasons for optimism at pick number 4 for the Houston Rockets, as well as James Harden is making demands of his next team in free agency. Hard pass if you're the Houston Rockets. All that and more coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence starts.
The Houston Rockets select Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, and Jabari Smith Jr.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
Every time I step on that floor, I'm coming.
Hey, Houston fans, I am so happy.
You're getting somebody who's going to come in with a chip on their shoulder, somebody who's going to come in and compete from day one.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Mondays. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin and the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, free and available wherever you listen to your podcasts, including YouTube. Go to YouTube, search Locked On Rockets. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on the way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you for making LOR part of your day every single day. Joining us now is your weekly co-host, the X's and O's man himself, Alykhan Bijani, who you can track down on Twitter at Rockets_insider. Alykhan, there is no Victor Wembanyama in Houston. There's maybe not even a Scoot Henderson in Houston. Pick lands at number 4. Your initial reaction from where the lottery luck kind of landed the Houston Rockets this time around in this year's draft cycle?
I was watching the draft on FaceTime with 2 of my best friends. And
well, you're a noted Grizzlies fan, so I don't even care about your reaction. What were your friends? Are your friends Rockets fans? What are they?
Yeah, the big time Rockets.
Okay,
fans.
There we go.
Man, you know, we got to pick number 8 and 7. I was like, all right, here we go. And we made it past. And when pick 5 came and I heard Detroit, I was like, oh my God, this is happening. I felt it. I felt something. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get to cover Victor Wembanyama. Like, this is incredible. We go to commercial break. I'm just pacing around. Like, I started getting nervous. You know, I had jitters. My friends got up and they went to the bathroom. They thought they were going to puke because there was so much anticipation. I'm not going to tell you their names. They're probably listening, but come back from commercial break. And as soon as he puts up the envelope for the Rockets, I hear the biggest collective, like all the expletives, I feel like my neighbors were cussing. Everybody was cussing. It was bad, man. I felt so devastated. And then we got to pick 2, and I was like, she's probably going to go to Charlotte. He goes to San Antonio. San Antonio, bro. San Antonio. Let me tell you something about San Antonio, okay? There's nothing good about San Antonio. I'm kidding. Some of my best friends are from San Antonio.
Man.
But even then, I'm just a little frustrated that the Rockets couldn't get Victor Wembanyama. But I think they'll be okay, Jackson. I'm not doom and gloom. I will tell you, I was just shocked to see the amount of just Rockets fans giving up. Now, that's what it means to be a fan, right? I can't tell you how to be a fan. I can't tell anybody how to be a fan. That's our individual, like, relationship with the team, right? Or relationship with basketball. But the amount of doom and gloom I was seeing, I was just shocked, Jackson. It's like, looking at the odds, you should have technically lost your pick a couple years ago and not gotten Jalen Green.
Yeah, look. I mean, to come out of the whole thing
with Jabari Smith, and then now you get the 4th pick. Like, I'm not saying it's the best case. Like, clearly you didn't get the number 1 overall pick in any of those 3 years, so it sucks. It's awful, but you still got some really good pieces, and I want to be positive about this. I think they'll still be fine.
No, yeah, and I'm right there with you. I fully agree. You know, there are, and again, part of being a fan is riding the highs and riding the lows,
of course,
and missing out on the best, most insanely generational prospect since LeBron James. That does sting a little bit. It stings even more when the morning after you have a French news organization, an independent news organization.
I know where this is going.
Start posting this behind the scenes footage. Oh my God. The behind the scenes footage of Victor Wembanyama and his reaction throughout the whole draft process and seeing different teams being called out. And you see this clip that goes viral of the Rockets pick being called at pick number 4, and Wemby does a side glance at the camera and then pumps his fists and he's like,
it's like the Kobe fist. The Kobe fist when he makes a shot, it's like, yeah. Yeah. It's like Tiger Woods. Whenever at Amen's corner, day 4 of the Masters, with a fist pump, man. He's happy. He's excited. He don't got to spend his next 20 years in the city of Houston. But guess what? He's going to San Antonio to hear the San Antonio Spurs. Oh my God. I'm sorry. That's more so when I've been to San Antonio, the PA announcer there. Oh my God. Over the years, man. Or just on TV. Oh my God. And then the TV guy, Mamma Mia, or whatever he says. Oh my God. It's so frustrating.
No. The Spurs are a swaggerless organization, and on top of that,
I guarantee you, Spurs fan will be listening to this, and they're probably going to clip this and put it on
Good. Put it all over. No,
I love San Antonio.
Put it all over. Put it all over Twitter. Put it all out there for them big old San Antonio women to listen to. All right. Shout out to Charles Barkley. We're going all. Look, Wemby
coming like the Rockets fans yesterday. It's not doom and gloom.
I'm not. This is not doom and gloom. Wemby made an enemy for life with that gesture. All right. Look, I don't want to.
Granted. Hey, I have to bring the context. You know me, Alykhan Bijani. Context guy, every show.
Context king.
If you watch his reaction to every single team that's not just the Rockets, besides the Spurs, the Rockets, he did the little fist pump. When Portland came, he made a face. And then when Charlotte came, he was happy because he knew he was going to San Antonio. And he released a video saying that in the morning he was manifesting and he dreamt about him going to San Antonio. So I don't necessarily.
Yeah. Look, I don't care about all that. Okay, it's okay. I don't care. I don't care about any of all that. I don't care about you. Get your facts out of here. Okay, we don't care about facts on this podcast. All that matters is that the Rockets dodged a bullet by not drafting Baguette Bol. Okay, I want no part in Tapenade Taco Fall, or we could say Strasburg, Sean Bradley, or how about Mo Bamba? And that one's special because you got to spell it Meaux, Mo Bamba, all right? So the Rockets dodged a bullet. Wemby can have fun in San Antonio. And you know what? We were over here casting our ballots, doing all of our pray for Wemby, this, that, and the other thing. You know what can't happen, Alykhan? You can't pray without an amen. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're Amen. I've heard it both ways. All right, Amen Thompson, whatever, whichever direction we got it. We got to get a phonetic pronunciation for this guy's name.
Cameron.
But Asar Thompson doesn't work with the joke here, man. Come on, get with the program.
I gotta learn how to say their names, man. I'll be very honest with you. The only name I knew how to pronounce correctly was Scoot Henderson, and it took me a while to learn Wembanyama spelling. Okay, because I wanted to make sure I got it right. So the fact that it's not looking likely the Rockets will have any of those two players, I got to start learning how to pronounce the other prospects name, which, by the way, I'm still pretty excited about because they're pretty good, man. So I'm going to be positive. I'm always positive. I'm always going to be positive here.
Positive Bijani here. There are reasons for positivity. In fact, we want to get to some of the commentary, some of the reaction from Rafael Stone and Ime Udoka immediately after the NBA draft lottery concluded, some of their thoughts about what this Rockets organization, what this team, what this roster is going to look like moving forward. We're going to get there in just one moment. But first, today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the exact same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head on over to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to the My Garage section of the website and look for the green check to know that the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, available to U.S. customers only, eligible items only, exclusions apply. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Alykhan's over there cutting up on the other side of the show because...
Jackson. Can you just imagine when Mark Jackson does the first, which probably be, he'll probably be one of the main guys, Mike Breen, Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy. They'll probably do one of the, like, Wemby's first game or something.
The Spurs are getting 82 nationally televised games next season.
Can you just imagine the first thing that he's going to say at a highlight package, Mark Jackson?
Oh, God.
Mama, there goes that yum.
What is... Oh, my God. No, that deserves an oh my. What is wrong with you? Oh my God. All right. Whew. Okay.
Hey, all those missed threes the Rockets had, they were trying to Brichter for Victor, and it clearly didn't work out.
Okay. No, I'm cutting you off. You're done. No more wordplay for you. I don't want another pun out of you for the rest of the episode, okay? I'm putting you in timeout. You're in the no pun corner. No pun intended. Shout out Reggie Miller. With that, let's get to the reactions from General Manager Rafael Stone and new head coach Ime Udoka in the aftermath of the NBA draft lottery. Alykhan, you've got us for their reactions because our good friend Kelly Iko of The Athletic was there in Chicago covering the draft lottery in person. He was one of the 19 media members in the room when the drawing took place. Give us who we're getting thoughts from first here, Stone or Udoka?
I'll start with Stone, and then we'll go into Udoka. I really like Ime's comments, especially. So Rafael's like, this is a really talented draft. I'm happy. I think we're going to add another talented guy. We feel really good about the direction of how our franchise is headed in with our young core and ability to add in free agency. This is additive. It's icing on the cake. Our approach for the past year has been we need to transition out of that phase. 1 is better than 4. We can all do math, but I'm excited that we're going to get an opportunity to get a really good player that comes with qualification. Comes without qualification, unquote. Couple things that Rafael Stone said that really stuck out to me.
Well, what stuck out to me is that he trusts me to do math, which nobody should trust me to do math ever. So,
well, he trusts me to do math. Let me tell you, Jackson, back in high school and college, I made high A's in calculus and all the crazy math, so you can trust me. But anyway, not my fault. Okay, anyways, one thing he said that was really interesting to me, Jackson. He said, our approach for the past year has been we need to transition out of that phase. We know that he said transition out of the phase. He used the word like phase 2, like Tillman used phase 2 in the press conference a few weeks ago when they introduced Ime.
Yeah.
But he said our approach for the past year has been we need to transition out of that phase. That comment to me was very interesting because Rafael Stone does not say something if he doesn't mean it. He's very calculative of what he says. He's very careful. The fact he says our approach for the past year has been we need to transition out of that phase. I just think that's very interesting, and I want Rockets fans to keep that in mind when kind of going back and reviewing last season, this season, moving forward. That this has not just been something that they want to do now after the losing. It's clearly something from last year and the last offseason they were looking at as this offseason as that way to transition moving forward, which we knew, but the fact that he's saying it now is just really interesting. I wanted to bring that up. And then here's Ime's comments, Jackson. Well, first, did you have anything about Rafael that you wanted to say?
No, more so just, I think that we've kind of known for a while, right, that this offseason was the one that they've targeted for a while. 2023, they were planning to have the clean cap space, all of that. And so I think it's just, this is about as clean a break as any as you'll get in the NBA landscape, to have all the young talent, another top pick coming in, the clean cap space, a new head coach, like all of it. It's just, the stars really did align to where the Rockets get a truly clean slate going from phase 1 into phase 2.
Yeah, for sure. All right. And this is what Ime Udoka said, the new Rockets head coach. Quote, "It's an exciting time. Obviously, a great opportunity. We can add through the draft, but we also have to develop the guys we have. To be able to add a young player, the cap space, and all the things that made it so intriguing is an honor. We'll look forward to adding a good piece to what we already have our young guys take a leap, and look to do good things next year," unquote. A couple of things that stick out to me about Ime's comments. Obviously, a great opportunity. We can add through the draft, but we also have to develop the guys we have. Jackson, going back the last 2 years when they've had the number 2 and number 3 overall pick, how many first-round picks have they had total?
7, and then, so are we counting this year or no?
We're not counting this year.
Not count. So 7 first-round picks.
7 first-round picks. We also have to develop the guys we have. You have 7 first-round picks that have a lot of talent. Out of those 7 first-round picks, I'll be very honest with you, Jackson. How many of them are legitimate rotation players going into next season?
4.
4 out of 7. You have 7 players on your roster you have to develop. I'm in complete agreement with Ime Udoka. Yeah, it's fantastic. You want the number 1 overall pick, changes everything. You have your franchise cornerstone, like legitimate cornerstone, but ultimately you don't have that anymore. So now you have to go back and focus on the guys you have. And out of those 7, before we even go into this draft, you have to be able to develop them and make them take the next step, right? And if I'm looking at this roster right now, just be very complete honest with you. If the Rockets and everybody takes the next step and all these different things, who I view as part of a potential 7.5, 8-man rotation in a conference finals series like we're seeing right now, are Tari Eason, Jabari Smith Jr., Jalen Green, and Alperen Sengun when he becomes a lot more serviceable defensively. And so with that in mind, and that also goes for Jalen Green as well, but with that in mind, that's 4 of your 7 guys who you were very confident in, very confident, but at least somewhat confident in being rotation players. I completely agree with Ime Udoka. You have to be able to develop the guys that you have already. Then he said something else, Jackson.
Well, but even on that note, the question is, and I love the confidence in Udoka's answer, and I love the mentality, the approach. Hey, we've got talent, we've got young guys. Yeah. This even tracks with shout out to Rockets courtside reporter Vanessa Richardson, who was seeing, there was a lot of, this weird narrative started to spin, on NBA Twitter or whatever, where, Ime Udoka must regret choosing the Houston Rockets because all these other head coaching spots are opening up. No, Ime chose the Rockets. Ime's not an idiot. He could have easily waited things out and tried to see if there were maybe greener pastures elsewhere. He picked the Rockets because not only did the Rockets sell him on the vision, he wanted to be here. I think that counts for something. And Vanessa Richardson went on there with her own interview with Udoka and posted with the receipt saying he's excited about, so I think that I just wanted to push back on that narrative. He is bought in and excited about the young players that he has at his disposal.
Jackson, you saw this. Him and Tillman Fertitta are very tight already. And that to me is a big deal. Yeah, he could have waited. And realistically, coaches would wait during a playoff series because if there's a disappointing loss, he could have swung in. But he chose to sign quickly, and they did not do a second round because he quickly won over Tillman and Tillman won over him.
Yep.
That's a big deal, man. I think Rockets fans, or NBA Twitter, whatever is going, people are talking, nobody's talking about the fact that him and Tillman are very close already. And that's, or not close, but I would say on lockstep in terms
organizational harmony, alignment, top to bottom.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yeah, and I think that's a really big deal. Last thing he said is to be able to add a young player in the cap space and all the things that make it so intriguing is an honor. Cap space is also a big deal, Jackson. You have $60+ million. I think it's calculated to be like 62 million they have after all of this stuff if they let go of, I think, Jae'Sean and keep KJ's option. $62 million to potentially add 3 legitimate starters. And you and I have talked about this, probably 1 point guard or starting guard or some sort of facilitator, 1, beefy wing or shooter, and then 1 big center who can rim protect for you. If they had 3 of those guys with that cap space, then you still have your exception once you go over the cap. Then you have your young guys there. It's a pretty decent team if some of these young guys can take the next step and do things. So I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty optimistic and positive about it. Let's see what happens.
You know what could happen is the Rockets could just commit all that money to James Harden, who reportedly wants a 4-year maximum deal. We're going to get into the latest in the James Harden saga because this is not going anywhere.
What a James Softon answer right there, man.
We're gonna tackle the latest in the James Harden saga coming up in just a second because James Harden apparently wants a 4-year max as well as quote unquote basketball freedom wherever he signs his next contract as he intends to opt out of his player option with the Philadelphia 76ers. We're gonna get there in just one moment. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. All right, Alykhan, let's get into the James Harden stuff because it's not going away anytime soon.
It's definitely not. Yeah.
Chris Haynes of Bleacher Report with the really concerning messaging surrounding James Harden and his intent to opt out of that final year of his deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. There are, Ramona Shelburne was reporting the other day that there was, I guess tension between James Harden and Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is now out, no longer with the 76ers. There's some rumors that maybe Mike D'Antoni could be the guy to step in and fill that vacancy. And we know that James Harden and MDA are super tight. I mean, that could be the piece that keeps James Harden in Philly. But here's the money quote from this article by Chris Haynes. The Houston Rockets have long been a rumored destination, but sources say Harden will only entertain suitors that present a competitive roster and the basketball freedom for the star to be himself, sources say. And then, further down the line, if Houston is all in on a Harden reunion, it will take some roster reconstructing to entice Harden. Houston has a promising young core that includes Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., and Alperen Sengun, along with the number 4 pick in the upcoming NBA draft. But the team tied for the worst record in the Western Conference last season, yada, yada, yada. There are, so many red flags with both of those comments, Alec. What do you want to unpack first from there?
I want to just say one more thing I also saw today and then kind of get into this.
Sure.
Zach Lowe had he had something to drop this morning, on Wednesday morning. And I'm going to read that. It said, quote, executives and agents in Chicago are buzzing about the future of the Philadelphia 76ers. The team's firing of Doc Rivers Tuesday morning had several league sources in Chicago cautioning that James Harden's much rumored interest in returning to Houston may not be such a shoot-in with Rivers gone in Philly. To be clear, Harden and the Rockets remain very much interested in the concept of a reunion, sources said, unquote. Just wanted to be able to say that from Zach Lowe's perspective, since he's around front office people like you talked about. We have to understand where the perspective is coming from when it comes to sources, right? Could it be from a player's side, from an agent side? Zach Lowe's in Chicago, likely going to be from a front office perspective. Now, let's look at what James Harden said. I want to start off with the basketball freedom. I think that's the first thing that comes up to my mind.
You know what basketball freedom means? It means he wants to play Harden Ball, and that's it.
Wait, what's Harden Ball? There's different things of Harden Ball. Is Harden Ball what he did in Philly? Is Harden Ball what he did in 2016-17 with the Rockets? Is Harden Ball what he did in 2019 and 20 when Chris Paul got hurt? Is Harden Ball what he did in 2013 when he ran pick and roll? What exactly is Harden Ball, Jackson?
Harden Ball is he wants the ball in his hands, pretty much. He wants the ball in his hands. He wants to continue playing his way. So how is that a bad thing? No. And he doesn't, I don't think he wants to defer to anybody else. I think that's what Harden Ball means.
Who would he defer to on this team, though?
He wouldn't defer to anybody on this team. And
who would you want him to defer to on this team?
I would want him to defer to Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. This gets
back into... Wait. Hey, before Turkish fans get at you, you're missing one player's name. Who are you missing, Jackson? Or are they going to come in the comments and attack you?
Furkan Korkmaz?
You're about to get his
Alperen Sengun, Alpi Yanior. All right, I'm earning my stripes. Here, look. When we've discussed the James Harden stuff, we've discussed it ad nauseum at this point. But it's always been about expectations, right? What are the expectations for if James Harden were to come back to Houston? For me and for many others, the expectations would be, okay, you're not coming back to be the guy. You're coming back to help usher in the new age, bring these young guys along, and Harden Ball or basketball freedom does not equate to that version of what I think could be successful, right? I don't need to see James Harden come back to Houston and be the top dog. Yes, he would clearly be the most talented player on the roster. He'd be the best player on the team, but his role would need to be that of the facilitator, right? The guy who is setting up Jalen to be the number one option, setting up Jabari and or Sengun to be the number two option, right? Getting those guys their shots and stepping up when needed and being kind of the safety net for these young guys. But I don't think that's the role that he would want if he came back to Houston. And that, to me, is the gigantic red flag.
I have two perspectives on this. One is I agree the whole basketball freedom thing. You want him to be able to play in a style that's not just good for him because he's a Hall of Fame player and you know what he can do as a playmaker, but you also want him to play in a playing style that's conducive to the development and growth of the players you have. Similar to kind of what happened in Phoenix, right? When you had Chris Paul, joined Devin Booker, they went to a lot more of a spread pick and roll offense, more of a stack pick and roll, meaning three players involved in pick and rolls, a lot of Spain action, if that's a term familiar to our audience. And so it was conducive to the development of Devin Booker, right? And DeAndre Ayton. If James Harden's going to have basketball freedom, I think that's fine. But is there a bridge or a way to connect that with the way that Ime Udoka wants to run things? I think if you look at basketball freedom, James Harden had that when KD was hurt in Brooklyn and Ime Udoka was the coach there with Steve Nash. So Ime may have some familiarity, kind of understanding what James wants and kind of adapting an offense. That's one perspective to have. Second is, if James grants you a meeting and he has the conversations with Ime, and Ime, the whole thing about Ime is he's really good connecting with players and able to have those honest conversations. Could that be an honest conversation? Hey, James, like, we will let you do what you want to do, especially when you are the sole guard on the floor. But when it comes to the young guys, you want to make sure that we're also putting them in positions to be successful. Because before they left for the offseason, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, all of them, they have a list of things they're working on and they have to improve upon. So you don't want to just stunt that growth and stunt that development you'll put in because you want to bring in a guy who wants basketball freedom. You want that to be a kind of thing that kind of works with each other, right? And so those are the things I keep in mind. And it comes down to, is James flexible enough to do that? And also, I still question Jackson. What does basketball freedom mean for him?
Yeah, you can, and I think I fully agree with your point. You can achieve both things, and you can achieve, like, it's not that, young players can't develop alongside James Harden. Look at how great Tyrese Maxey has become playing next to and playing off of James Harden.
Claxton. I mean, like, you just a lot of
guys.
There's guys exponentially, right? But that's what I'm saying. Basketball freedom. What does it mean?
So
basketball freedom. We're talking two words.
First, when I heard the term basketball freedom, I immediately actually had flashbacks to 3 years ago when we found out the reporting, the rumors about Russell Westbrook, wanting to play his style of basketball, wanting the ball in his hands. He didn't want to play a winning brand of basketball. He wanted to just play his brand, right? And then the Rockets were like, all right, fun. Have fun in DC, right? They shipped him out because that is not a conducive winning style. James Harden's style is very much, it gets you, there's a floor to James Harden's style. You will be X amount good with playing James Harden's style, but I think there's also a cap on development and how much other guys can really flourish or thrive in a system that is solely catered around one style of play, with James Harden dominating the basketball when he is on the court. He's not going to suddenly play off ball at age 34. He's not going to suddenly change his game around to cater to a bunch of 20 and 21-year-old kids. And that's where we get into the whole expectation side of things. But the other side of this commentary, Alykhan, before we wrap things up here, is it will take some roster reconstructing to entice Harden. And that, to me, is the big, gigantic, red flag of all of this, because no, you do not want to trade one of the, young pieces to try and bring in another, pseudo star. Who's untradeable?
Who is untradeable?
Nobody's untradeable on this roster.
Okay.
But the mistake would be trading a young, promising player like a Jabari or a Sengun or a Jalen Green for somebody who is on the wrong side of, say, 30, trying to make a trade to be better right away, a Band-Aid fix type solution. That's what you don't want to see. Now, if you're able to maybe flip one of those young guys into another set of young guys, right? If you're entertaining some, weird maybe like, a Mikal Bridges type, somebody who's 25, 26 years old, that's a little bit different than going for an over-the-hill veteran or an over-the-hill star to try and pair with James Harden. And that's my worry, is that James Harden be like, hey, go get me this guy, 30, 31, 32, whatever, and we can make a run at it right now. If he can't make it work with Embiid out east, I don't want to see what he's trying to do, if he's trying to team up with somebody in Houston. Also, the 4-year max is terrifying. I do not want to give James Harden a 4-year max. I respectfully will pass at this point.
I don't disagree with you. And if that's the case, then I think you have to look at the next names on the board. Is Fred VanVleet an option? Do you want to give him a max? I'm going to mention one name. I'm going to mention a couple things. One name I want Rockets fans to keep in mind is Dennis Smith Jr. He filled in for LaMelo Ball when LaMelo Ball was hurt. He is one of those players that Rafael Stone has talked about. Not him specifically, but he's talked about he wants to maybe potentially, buy low on a player and to see if they kind of work their contract and then they can find a home here. Dennis Smith Jr. can be one of those guys who is an unrestricted free agent. That's one. Second, when you're looking at James Harden, it's really interesting that the whole freedom aspect of it. He's played with all these different players who wanted specific things or freedoms, and now he has become that player who's old and is going through that transition of figuring out, is he that guy or is he not that guy anymore? And I think that's what's happening with him right now. That we look at James as this magician Hall of Fame player, and he will be, but is he going through that transition right now from being the guy or the secondary guy to now slowly becoming the tertiary guy? But even the tertiary guys at his age get paid, and there is precedent for it. And it's going to come down to, do the Rockets want to be that team? I think this is all coming from what he wants. Keep that in mind. This is not a demand that he's not going to sign with any team if he doesn't get this. But I think from his perspective as a player, you want a 4-year deal, obviously. You want to maximize all the positives, and everything in what Chris Haynes reported is a positive, an immense positive towards James. Now, will all of them work out? Probably not. So let's keep that in mind. We have several more weeks till the draft until you have more time. Look at Amen Thompson, who a comparison I heard to was more athletic Josh Giddey. You have chance to hear more stuff about James Harden going to free agency, more opportunity for trades, all those different things. Give it some time. More will come out. But I think right now, with the whole player option thing, he's just trying to look out for himself, right? And these types of things that Chris Haynes reported are the most beneficial things to James. I think that's the most important takeaway here.
This whole James thing has been such a roller coaster. It first happened and I was vehemently against it. Then I started to warm up to the idea. Then I was against it again. Then I warmed up. It's just, I've vacillated back and forth because I hear, you hear different arguments, you see different perspectives, but and you got to take the reporting with a grain of salt here, but some of the language in this reporting is wildly concerning, at least to me, and that's pushed me back into one corner of this debate, at least for the time being. On that note, Alykhan, you know the drill. Let everybody know where to track you down at.
Follow me on Twitter at Rockets_insider. Make sure you're following us at Locked On Rockets. Man, this was a fun episode, man. Shout out to San Antonio. Congratulations to you. But Jabari is coming for you, man. Jabari is coming for you. You took some notes. Let's see what happens.
Like two ugly girls fight. Nobody cares who wins.
That's going to do it for another edition of Locked On Rockets. As always, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast. That's Apple, Spotify, Google, the Odyssey app, free and available on all podcast platforms. We're also available on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search Locked On Rockets. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.